Hi, I'm Jesse Leahy with EngagingLeader.com, and I'm speaking with you today through this small frame to help me address the important topic of building rapport when you're engaging with an audience. I was about 20 years old when I discovered how important rapport is. I was a volunteer at a prison where my role was a literacy tutor, and also I was a counselor to inmates who had been placed in solitary confinement. Now they called it the hole. And inmates would be put into the hole if they had been caught breaking some kind of prison rule. And they might get put there for a day, a week, several weeks, or even months. And the hole was a cell where they were locked in all by themselves, and they had no window to the outside world, and their only window to the rest of the prison was an opening about this size that was cut into a solid metal door. So this wasn't a cell that had bars that you could see through. This is the only thing you could see through. And it was through this little window that they received their meals 3 times a day. And also, if they had any visitors, that the visitation would occur through that window. So I was there to counsel them, but I couldn't go into the cell with them and they couldn't come out with me. So I just had to kind of peer through this opening into their little world inside there. And that's all I had that was my only opportunity to build a relationship with them. As you can imagine, the conversation could be very short and frustrating if I was not able to build rapport right away. But you know what? Building rapport is important in any kind of conversation. Building rapport is making an emotional connection. And most people are not, it's been said, people are not so much thinking machines as we are feeling machines who also think. And most of us aren't really willing to listen to what somebody has to say. We don't want to listen to their logic unless we first kind of emotionally connect with them. Well, I discovered back at the prison that building rapport simply comes down to making a friend. And how do you make a friend? Well, one of the easiest tools is simple curiosity. If I could be curious about that person and ask a few questions, I might be lucky to find something that person really enjoys talking about. And if, in addition to that, I could find something that we have in common, well, then we've probably made a friendship together. If they enjoy talking about something and we have something in common, there's going to be an emotional connection. There's going to be rapport. The 2 easiest topics that I found to ask about were a person's hometown, where are you from, where are you from originally, why did you leave there? Did you like living there? Are you glad you left? Those kinds of questions. For one thing, I might find that I've been there, and then there's a connection there. Or if not, I would just be curious about it and want to find out more about their hometown. Another great question to ask, and this again always worked in the prison, was asking about the person's family. Especially if somebody has kids, there's a good chance they really enjoy talking about their kids. And if you have kids as well, then that's something you have in common. Other great topics to ask about are work. So what do you do? What kind of work experiences have you had? A lot of people really enjoy talking about work that they're proud about, or special skills or talents that they have. It's also great to ask about time. How long have you lived in this location? How long have you been in this profession? What got you into this? You'll find that time is a good question, because if asking about one of the earlier questions doesn't really launch them into a story, sharing a story, asking about time often does help them to bring up a story, and they usually will enjoy sharing that. It's also great to ask about hobbies and interests. People can be very passionate about the things they spend in their leisure time, and so asking, so what do you do for fun, or what do you do when you're not working so hard, brings up great topics for them to talk about. And also, if you find any of those hobbies or interests that you have in common, well, then there's a pretty good bet you've just made a friend. Now, speaking of passion, if you find out that the person is into sports, then there probably are topics that they're very passionate about. And if you have any particular sports that you have a shared interest in, then you guys could talk day and night about it. You can also ask about a person's high school or college, and you might find that you have the same alma mater. If you discover that you have any friends or acquaintances in common, that's an immediate connection that's good to build on. Now, most of those are pretty well geared toward one-on-one conversations. But what if you're trying to build rapport with a group or with a large audience? Well, you're not really going to necessarily ask questions and get to hear their answer, get to hear them tell stories. But if you turn that around and you be the one to tell stories, then you're pretty likely to make a connection. If you tell a story or two that really connects with that audience, then you've made friends with them. You've built rapport. And building rapport, again, simply comes down to making a friend. And the best tool for doing that is curiosity.